Garden P.E. It's the summer term and time to practice our cricket batting. The boys and I have put 10 to 15 practices together, working on your front foot shots and on your back foot shots. We'll go from the simple basics that you can do in a confined space, such as the one I'm in now, through to drills where we're hitting the ball a little bit harder, and for those you might wish to go to the local park as long as you stay socially distanced. Now I know that we don't have loads of room and loads of equipment, but we've been working hard on the solutions. Also, some of these practices can be done no matter what standard you are, whether you're just beginning or whether you're almost pro standard. You can have a go at these practices just in your backyard just to refresh yourself on how good you are at cricket. Right then, let's crack on. Starting with the equipment. Well, some of the solutions we've come up with is, instead of cones, I use caps. For bats, we've picked anything. Obviously the boys have got their own bats, but we've found a plastic bat, and I've also got an old stump, something to use there. Or even, I went into the local woods and I found a large twig, which I've then sort of carved down. I've taken the edges off and I've put a handle on, and you can use that for some of the shots. To prop the ball up, I've got a toilet roll, or for other shots I've got like a decorator's roller. Obviously tennis balls, all the things that we're doing are going to be with tennis balls. And finally a bin. I've just had an old bin in the shed somewhere which I'm using as stumps, or at least for the batsmen to work out where they need to stand in relation to the stumps. So that's the basic equipment. You don't have to have a whizzy cricket bat. Anything that's bat shaped will do to give it a go. For each practice, think about where you're going to place your stumps and where the batter is going to stand in relation to those stumps. The ball will tend to land in this area, a full length, for front foot shots, and then in this area for back foot shots, which is short of a length. The first set of practices are about the front foot defence, played to a full length ball that will hit your stumps. William is already in his forward press here, and so all he's doing is moving his arms into position. You can see how that he's just moving his bat nice and vertically into place. In this practice, and during practice 2, we're looking to see that he keeps his eyes level and that he makes a stable base on contact with the ball. The forward defensive still needs to be a positive stroke, so I'm not unhappy that he's actually striking at a distance. It means that later on down the line he'll score some runs from a basic forward defensive. And so to recap, keep the bat vertical, transfer the weight onto the front foot, keep the head and eyes level, and be positive. Front foot drives, played to a full length ball that is not threatening your stumps. In this practice, we're using a toilet roll holder just to prop the ball up so that you can step next to it when you're transferring the weight. There's also a target on the wall with 10, 5 and 2 points for accuracy. Here's Henry stepping forward and driving the ball into the wall. He's trying to score as many points as he can with each drive. You can tell when he's done it well because it comes straight back at him. When he's done it not so well, it disappears somewhere else. That's sort of like instant feedback for yourself. Prop the ball up on the toilet roll holder and drive it into the wall. The next practice is a self-feed. He just drops it in front of him and then plays it into the wall. As he drops and hits, you can see he's made a great shape here. And here, he's hit the number 10 because he's made that great shape. As he continues dropping and feeding, he has a different place to start at each time. He's got to move his feet into the right place and get his head over the top of the ball. I've extended on this practice for myself by using a stump. It's the same thing, just drop, step and hit. But of course you've got to use a lot more hand-eye coordination to hit the middle of the stump. Again, if you get it right, it goes straight. If you don't get it right in the middle of the ball and the middle of the stump, it's going to disappear off in different directions. I think I got that one right there. And then there's the stick that I found in the woods. It's about bat length, and I've put a handle on it just for comfort. Again, I'm dropping the ball, stepping in and hitting. And dependent where the ball goes, and I step across or into it, so I might play a nice little off drive in a mo. It just works on that hand-eye coordination. If you don't have a bat, a stick is a great way to start. For the next practices, I use caps as target zones. Whether we're striking it off the patio or striking it up or down the garden, I have these set out as like 5 points for getting it through the wider one and 10 points for getting it through the thinner one. Henry loves a bit of competition, so this is up his street.
1, go.
In this practice, I just dribble the ball across the ground and get him to step forward into it and try to hit it through the cones. So 5 points for getting it through the wide one and 10 points for getting it much straighter. And Henry likes to adjust his position to get into a place where he can step forward and hit it.
10 points.
You can tell though when he hits it straighter, he's a lot more stable. We moved on to one bouncer, just throwing it directly in, so that he could then step forward with one step and hit it. He found this a little harder, as most people do. But again, when he's got a stable base on contact, his eyes are level, he tends to get it a lot straighter. There's a big shot. There we go. 10 points right there. The front foot pull shot is played to a ball pitch short and not threatening the stumps. For this practice, I've set it up using the corner of a picnic table, and I've got a decorator's roller with a ball on top. I line myself up with my stumps, step in with a nice high to low bat swing to then hit it sideways through the leg side. William loves this drill. High backlift helps. Swinging through to hit it down the garden. I've slow motioned it here so that you can see how when on contact he's rolling the wrists over the ball to hit it down. This will stop him from getting caught out in the deep. Although if you want to hit sixes, you just don't bother rolling the wrists. In this practice, I've used the table still and I'm just bouncing the ball off the table. He's still stepping into it and he's still pulling it, but it's just bouncing off the table. You could bounce it off the floor if you wanted to, if you didn't have the table. The front foot sweep shot, played to a slower ball, full in length, where the batter can reach it with a good lunge forward. Here's Henry, hitting it off the toilet roll tube. Basically, he's in his stance already, and he's sweeping it off the toilet roll tube, hitting it down, high backlift to low contact point. And then we take the toilet roll out of it and just a bobble feed. So practice 10 is the bobble feed with the lunge. So he steps forward into it, gets that back swing high to low, and smashes it down the garden through the cap targets. The back foot defensive, played to a short delivery that needs defending to avoid being caught. In this one, the feet move back and into line with the ball. So the front foot moves second after the back foot's gone first. And you can see that I've put some chalk marks on the floor to help the kids.
Off we go.
So William's already in the back foot defensive position here.
Right, knock that one away.
And he's just moving his arms.
Right, ready?
He's in that position and then he moves his arms into there, so the contact point is right under his eyes. Head level, head still, stable base, contact point under the arms, and he's just bunting the ball down onto the floor.
Here we go.
In this practice, he's moving back into position to get on top of the bounce.
Knock that one
It's
away.
a one bounce feed that's coming in sort of between waist and chest high.
Ready?
And again, as soon as it bounces, he gets himself back into position, watches the ball carefully high up onto the bat. And he's trying to knock it down so he doesn't get caught.
Cool.
We extend that on with a back foot drive, played to a ball short of the length but just wide of the stumps.
Ready?
In this one, it's a one bounce feed, and you're trying to get the ball about hip height.
Lovely.
Again,
And the
he's
next one.
stepping back, and this time, if he's over the top of the ball, he's going to try and drive it through the offside. where we're being picky, you should come across in line with the ball.
Yeah.
But in this case, I just like the fact that he's made it back and he's playing the ball through the offside with a nice vertical bat. You can do this practice for yourself against a wall. Here I am just chucking it hard against the wall, getting it to bounce up, getting my stance ready, and then getting into line and playing the shot. And you can play the back foot defensive or the back foot drive out of this, depending on how the ball goes. So getting into line and playing the ball away. And then as before, I've made it harder for myself by using a stump. Throwing the ball, get it into a stance, and playing through the offside with the stump. A good back foot drive there. And finally, if you don't have a bat, you can do all of this with the stick. If the ball is wide of the off stump, then you can just step across and have a good hit at it. The next shot is the back foot pull, which plays with a short delivery that's coming at your body or down the leg side. Again, we start this practice by having William in his finished stance already. And you just throw the ball at the hip and he plays it off of the hip. Again, high back lift, high to low swing, knocking it down, just already in the stance. You don't have to bounce the ball, just throw it directly.
Lovely, that one. Okay. Ready?
In the next practice, he starts in his stance and then moves back into the shot. And for this one, to give him the cue, you need to bounce the ball in once, nice and short, at his hip or chest high.
Ready?
Again, the caps are down the garden for you to give him points.
Whoa. Shot.
The next shot is the cut shot. It's a back foot shot played to a short ball which is very wide. In this, I'm using the garden table again. I'm just stepping back, getting into a stance, and then playing it square of the wicket. I'm using my garden roller and my tennis ball, so playing back and knocking it off the top of the table. Again, a little bit slower. So I'm stepping back and into line with the ball, watching and hitting it square of the wicket.
Yeah.
For this practice, I had William throwing me the ball down the table. And the bucket in the back there, so I was trying to get him to throw it to land it into the bucket.
Lovely, that one's a good
And before it got there, I would just step across and square cut it. If we're putting all this together, you should have the front foot and the back foot working dependent on where the ball's pitched. So again, from your stance, which I showed earlier, if the ball pitches full length, you should go for a front foot shot. And if it pitches shorter, you should go for a back foot shot. And to work with this, you need to try and feed the ball randomly, either front or back foot, and try and get the player to decide what they need to do. It's a decision-making process. So with this one, the ball's come to a front foot, and William's decided to play front foot. But as soon as he's seen it go back, he's played a back foot shot. I suppose the zones on the floor have helped him a little bit, where if he sees it's going to land blue, he moves forward, and if he sees it's going to land red, he goes backwards. But these sort of random practices can help them to decide how to go forward and how to go back at the right moment in the game. Thank you very much for watching. Thousands of tennis balls were hurt in the production of this lesson, and the more practice attempts you do, the better you get. The maths on that just doesn't lie. Bye!